What do you think? You think we can change the world?
You don't even have to give me a context. And that's what's going to make it even more reassuring on my statement. Yes.
Of course. We're gonna change the world.
But not like that.
Not like that.
But, we're not going to be the boys or the guys that change the world. We're not going to start some super secret group that
We
is
are.
gonna...
We're
not.
We're starting the Order of Six Nicks, in which we follow Mother Nyx, the
Mother
goddess
Nyx.
of night.
With this nerdy kid, my methods be so versatile. Trying to find my way around all these damn firewalls. Staying true to myself despite utilizing system calls. Life is a game of avoiding court, jail, and hospital walls. Dark hole into which you fall. Yes, life is a fucking game. Make sure gameplay is not lame. Before long you will be slain. Create art with all your pain.
And then you really follow through, like, even with intentions, like, this is your playlist, this is the experience you want to give me. And yeah, that's exactly almost how it went down. Like, I wanted it, you to kind of experience what I've experienced with shrooms and stuff, because I don't know what kind of music or scenario or like environment you've set yourself in, and I just know that my best come from sounds like that. Now, those were hand-picked from, like, let's call them hand-picked recent findings. One or two might have been something that I've known from the past. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the ones I've listened to on things are usually some kind of a playlist. That's like Serenity meditation playlist or something on YouTube, hour and a half long, 3 hours long. You just pick somewhere to start and then you go, and that's really out of your control, and you never know, you're not it's not all the time that you trip, and I don't want to just randomly hear something sometimes, because what if it's shitty electronic music or...
Have I ever told you about one of my conditions that I have? It's called aphantasia.
Well, as long as it... Yeah. You ever broke down condition? Like how you use the word condition? Or we use, conditioning? Like training and stuff? And yeah, I got conditions, but the minute I say that, I have to be really careful, because, we talked about that. You can handicap it.
Yeah. Well, aphantasia is the closing, or the closed version of the mind's eye. We were talking once before about visualization, and if you were to close your eyes and to think of something,
But we know that it's not 100%, because even though we did what we did, we have found over time, even if you didn't realize it, that you can visualize. You may just have... You may... Can I say this real quick? Because there was... I'm not saying a time in my life, but there was a time in my life where it was stronger.
Yeah.
Where I'd hear these certain perceptions that people, or experiences or something that people would have. And let's just talk about, salvation being one of them, right? Like the church's version of salvation. And it's always this, hyped up thing, and, they feel it, they see it, they know it, all this stuff, and I never got it, right? So that was, my biggest doubts. I was like, no, trash, because I don't have it, I'm like, so... Obviously, I suck, and basically, so, but it wasn't until, I was reassured with my own experiences and stuff that it was like, oh, okay. Okay, there is magic, there is feelings, it's I wasn't, so I guess what I'm saying is...
Yeah, it is.
What?
If you're wondering, it is recording.
Oh. No, that's... I just know you put that phone in front of me 7 times now, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like... I'm glad you're doing that. Where were we?
Oh, well, I was originally talking about Asvantasia.
Yeah, and then, but we were starting to get
and
into...
the visualization of...
But we got into that, you know, it's probably not 100%, but it's definitely something, you know...
Well, I wanna bring it up to, like, this particular point, which is...
Can I cap it?
Yeah, go ahead.
What I was saying?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because now, in basically one statement, you may... When I say that I'm visualizing something,
Yeah.
you may interpret that as something more out of the box than what you're capable of doing it because of the way I'm explaining it.
Yeah.
And we could be doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I don't actually see anything. It's just
Okay.
my neurons,
when you
my
close
brain memorizes those patterns and it uses those the same way that... Because think, I don't see you.
Yeah.
I see the depth points, and then it's filling in the rest.
Yeah. If you were to think about a mountain right now and close your eyes real quick, would you be able to see a mountain? Like, vividly?
The fact that you can recall a mountain, and even express that you could not see one, tells me you can see one. Because that's all it takes, okay? Like,
Yeah.
I thought, because why I'm saying this is because photographic memory. Because let's say I'm you, and you're and there's somebody else, and they say they've got photographic memory, and I'm like, I don't have that. I don't remember, because they're explaining it as they can see everything and recall it to the picture perfect, right? And it's like, but then like it was like in the past 3 years I've like started like tapping into that, because I'm like, and it's all about decisiveness and focus and all those things. It's you know, like when you take those cold showers, you know, nobody wants to get uncomfortable, but when you make that mindset and you're like, I'm gonna get uncomfortable, you get uncomfortable and you're actually okay with it, rather than if you were to be like, I don't want to get uncomfortable, oh my god.
The uncomfortability, though, is the growth factor.
Yeah, but that was just for an example. That wasn't really related.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is, I thought photographic memory was one thing, because like I'm thinking like, because just like they say, like photo perfect.
Yeah.
But that could just be a way of that person expressing how they do it, and they may just be stronger at it.
Yes.
You know?
I think, so one of the reasons why I'm very interested in Avantasia is because there are people who do state that for them, vivid memory, vivid...
Soda, water,
I'll take soda.
Pepsi,
Pepsi's fine.
or fresh.
Pepsi.
It's cherry.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. So they say like they can see their memories more vividly. They could.
But how could they compare that? They can't. You can't. You can't compare it. There's
there's a test.
no, there's not, because the color test is the perfect example. Because colorblind people, some colorblind people may not be colorblind, and I know this to be a fact because, okay, and because the hues are just different. It's like, why do you have a different favorite color than I do? Why do we all have different opinions about how something looks and how it fits in? And I'm like, because though we both identify this as red, that's just because if this was blue, it'll be off. So your offset will be off.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to still distinguish that was blue. But yet, some people would be like, oh, that's purple. Or
That's weather.
one person might say that. No, that's brown. And What about that golden blue challenge thing? Maybe that only looks brown because this white contrast and somehow this shade threw it off. And so, but at the same time, we could all almost say this is blue, you know, but then like, okay, so the test thing is iffy. The same way when I was watching a fucking doctor today, and this is one of the things I see in the doctors the most.
Yeah.
They go straight out of the textbook about things, they go on their perception, and it's like they're so certain on the proof, the numbers, the data. They'll be like, throw away that planetary healing medicine. You don't need psychedelics or grass or that. You need this because it's got numbers, it's got data, and it's proof. And it's like, but I've got more proof in my heart than you do in your fucking book.
What if there's a symbiosis between the two?
There is.
Okay.
But he's a little farther off than I am. Because here I am using modern medicine like Xanax and painkillers, but not for leisure. I don't like doing this stuff for leisure. I almost hate the feeling. Xanax is like alcohol almost, and I hate alcohol. And it's like, but it does the trick. That's what we're usually doing it for, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to escape reality, those different altered states of consciousness definitely help. Kind of tying it back to, like, you wanted a documentation of the shrooms.
Do you want it?
Well, I want to give you kind of a report of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
The Avantasia part that I keep kind of coming back to is where you are able to visualize more vividly. Now, when I close my eyes and I try to imagine things, I cannot see anything. It's completely black. However, when I do imagination-based practices, I don't see them in my mental pictures. But what I do feel is the physical manifestation of those objects.
Now, I'll say this. This comes from... Because I was going to consider something. But I thought about it, and I'm like, you have plenty of screen time. Because I was like, because here's something that happened. Like, look at a light bulb, and then you look at the wall and you blink and you see it, right? You know what I mean? So that's part of that thing. So light.
Yeah.
So that's like a very high concentrated amount of light is where your reflection of light is very, very small. So
I like how you say that, because when I was tripping, the way that I like to trip is I like it to be in either complete darkness, but not necessarily complete darkness. Sure. I like a little bit of dimness.
Yeah. Because
of the shadow work.
Yeah.
And in that, okay, so there's different states of brain frequencies. So when you're in a high delta, theta, or even epsilon, or those types of brain waves, you are, or like if you let, the easiest way to understand that is those particular things are resonant with deep meditative states. And when you're sleeping, for example, you have one particular sleep called REM sleep.
Of course.
And in REM sleep, what that means is a rapid eye movement. That's what REM means, or stands for. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's what
That's
REM
crazy,
stands for.
because like I was telling you about that, like how I immediately went into that, and I wonder if like we're just sleepwalking. I'm
Well,
sure it's like I was going, it was like immediately doing that stuff. But I was like, awake, and it was immediately that out-of-body experience that you usually have in your first few minutes of sleep.
Yeah.
You know, where you're like, I don't know if you feel that way, but like, there's that point where sometimes you wake out of it, and then it feels like you've been sleeping for 2 hours, but it's been 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And, but if you feel this, like, coming away from the body, you're going out into the dream world. You're kind of above the plane, so to say.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question real quick. Do you remember your dreams?
Sometimes, I'll tell you what, I heard someone say this to me once. They said, I heard that, they said this, I heard that when you smoke weed, you don't remember your dreams. And they go, and I kind of feel that way. And I didn't really, consider this person to be too special or anything. But, like what he had to say, but at the same time, I reflected on that, and I'm like, huh. And then for a while it seemed like, oh, well. And this was in a time where I didn't smoke every fucking day consistently. And, yeah, I guess it almost felt like I couldn't remember my dreams, but it was almost like that thing that happened in cycles multiple times in your life where once you notice it, it seems new.
Yeah.
But it's always been there. But then once you notice it doesn't go away. Like...
Do you know if you dream in color?
So, I know I haven't answered your question yet.
Yeah.
So, now we get into, do I remember my dreams? And actually, like I told you, I don't remember any of the dreams from last night, what I took. But I do remember that it was intense.
Yeah.
Because I've lived long enough to know how intense the dream was when you wake up, because you either wake up and take on your day and you're thinking about your day, or you wake up completely fucking fucked, still stuck in your dream world.
Yeah.
And it takes 15 minutes to get out of that, and even throughout the day you're still thinking back like, damn, like I feel like something crazy happened, but it's just probably in the dream, because that shit happens. But I'll tell you what, I say about for the last 3 years, definitely vivid dreams. I've even been getting really close to what some people may consider lucid dreaming. Now, I do not believe in the type of lucid dreaming where you have full control.
Why not? Because I believe in it, but I think it takes practice.
The same kind of people who come back after a near-death experience and say they saw Jesus.
Well, okay, but on near-death experience, do you know what triggers that?
What?
DMT. That comes from the pineal gland.
Yeah.
So, if that is a part of it, if for example, can produce DMT naturally, there is a component in which these psychedelic realms might actually have bearing into reality. And to access these realms, you do not need a psychedelic because you can naturally trigger it.
And but I think it really depends on the amount of toxins within that human, because we can move both a little bit, I guess. Well, because or not toxins. Let's just say corruption.
Okay.
Well, actually, I'd say you either gotta be super pure or super misfortune, like corrupted, to hit that natural part of it. So you either now, what do most people consider as a near-death experience? They consider near-death when you get in a car accident and you lose consciousness for 7 minutes, but you get resuscitated and everything. But I think one thing to consider is the chemical that is similar to what you're talking about, the Geno something.
Yeah.
Geno something. I mean, there's conspiracies out there that.
Well, there's the genome, but that's aspects to the DNA sequence.
Well, yeah. Well, all I know is that like there's theories out there that revolve around like institutions that get people to the point where they believe they're gonna die, and that creates a certain chemical, and they extract that chemical, and it's like the most potent thing you could do next to the blood of a young baby, basically.
Okay.
So so like that's another thing that like and these are good solid theories in a sense, if you look into some of this stuff, because I mean countless times it comes up where there's like the pedophile rings, the sex trafficking, or like satanic worshipers, like big cults. Like.
Yeah, in that particular aspect, you want to know something kind of interesting. The Atlantis lore. Atlantis was about higher dimensional type beings.
Yes, but at the same time, real quick before you do that, I almost want to say the only thing that I've heard about Atlantis, that why they were so advanced, was because that they were using, like, because there's images of that, like that they had that third eye.
Yeah.
And or if it wasn't a third eye, it was some kind of antenna or something, but that was like or it was another one where it was like a squid that was on top of their head. And I think what it was representing was like they were captive, like under control of one brain.
Yeah. Kind of in that realm, to kind of, because there is aspects of what you just said correlate to the theory that I've been kind of diving into, which is I really love the idea of Atlantis. I believe that
You believe.
I believe.
Be careful, buddy.
I believe that
Don't get your feelings.
we are some sort of dimensional type being. I think it's.
I hope so. I think
here. Well, I mean, we're in the
in a dimension.
We're in
as
the,
beings.
We're in the third dimension. But
I don't care what you call it.
But what if we're much bigger than the third dimension?
Yeah, man, I mean, how could you not be? I mean, the only way you couldn't be is if you're not. And if you're talking like you are, you're either crazy or you're
But here's
down that path.
Here's the beauty of it, though. Genius and madness go hand in hand.
This is very true.
But anyways, back to kind of like the Atlantis lore. When we're talking about kind of those dark aspects of society and and like the baby sacrifice.
Well,
and
not
shit like
necessarily sacrifice. Like I'm just talking. Okay, so blood work.
Yeah.
Okay. I've always wondered what's on the other end of the tube. Kind of like.
The blood work though is I think part of why Atlantis fell.
Yeah.
Atlantis fell because of their aspect of knowledge and how the governance of society was going.
And that's kind of what's going on with the doctor. Like I feel like that's where that doctor I was bringing up today was at. Like he was, it was something about calming a baby, and it was like coming from a philosopher, and he was like, you don't want to listen to a philosopher, you want to listen to a scientist. And it's like, that made me cringe, so bad, because that's really where we're at in our days, where it's like, psychology is oppressive, it's governing, it's systematic, it's just, and it's not just psychology, right? But we're talking,
I think you need more than that. I think you need philosophy, because the philosophical will give you variants of psychological.
But yet, philosophy is almost blunt compared to psychology. Psychology is like
well, it depends on which tree or branch that you go from.
Yeah.
Because there's things like, for example, there's Freudian logic. There is
well, logic to me is
Jungian. I personally subscribe to the Jungian psychology, whereas a lot of modern day stuff derives from what's his name? Freud. So, anyways, back to, because I kind of want to dive into Atlantis a little bit more. In there, we see that there's a fall of civilization. And the fall of civilization, my bad. The fall of civilization comes from the difference between science and spirituality. As we progress further and further within technology, we see that magic, for example, is just technology misunderstood. Kinda.
But you're right, it is misunderstood on both levels. Right?
What were you saying?
What were you saying?
Well, Atlantis is the
Oh,
fall.
remember we were at technology and magic.
Yeah, technology and magic.
Alright, so this isn't the first time you said it, and I have a thing about sayings.
Okay.
Alright, because they can be oversaid, because part of growth is being able to change, being able to confidently contradict yourself, right? Because there could be a younger version of yourself that said one thing, but now today's self says another.
Yeah.
And so that's why I always play the advocate on the other party for things so many times, because it saves people's egos from getting hurt. And I swear, and not in this case, but like in most cases. And why? Because I want to give an equal distribution of conversation, and power and control, because people need that. They need reassurance when they're talking about something and stuff. So anyways, so I say, you've said that before, and I've thought on it, and it's like, well, fucking technology is the root of evil. But it's done so many great things at the same time, but yet there's no way to really...
Could you define technology as evil?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay. So the same way, at this point, so let's say in 1776, the Second Amendment was written when there's muskets, alright, and cannon, and swords, all weapons. A musket used to take 3 or 4 minutes to load or something like that, at least 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And now we're on that same amendment, but we have a totally advanced fucking warfare, which even includes technology, right? But I'm just talking about the guns, the bullets, the reach, the capabilities of being able to end someone's life, right? Now, but so it's kind of the same thing with technology. It's like, well, now we're at a point where just things are so fucking advanced that it's gotten dangerous. And obviously, I'm gonna be the one to say, well, I don't think it's a good idea to say less guns or anything. It's just probably a good idea to bear your own arm, and just call it a day and talk with your neighbors and, practice, love the neighbor. Alright, that Second Amendment wasn't created to protect yourself from your neighbor, it was to protect yourself from oppressive government. Okay? And coyotes, bear attacks, right?
Yeah.
And hoodlums or something, but even then. But here's what I mean, it's there's so much nasty that is stemmed from technology, the disorders and the mental health issues and all that. It was one thing once upon a time, but nowadays it's a whole bunch of nasty. But at the same time, it's it is really cool that we're all connected in the way we are, but at the same time, it takes away from the physical contact. Now, here's what I am noticing. I've noticed that in these 200 years, compared to the last many thousands of years, there's been a whole lot happening in the way that humans can connect with stuff. And the way I see it is, we're not advanced, we're just advancing, like faster than ever, and like expediting the evolution. And so what happens with that is we have a big mess that's left behind. Like, we're just fucking going forward, going. We're not, like, if we would have just stayed in the computer scene way back when and fucking really like took everything and like tested everything and tried to perfect, but instead there was a turning point where it was like push, no looking back. We're just next best thing, shortcuts and blah blah blah, and a lot of sellouts and whatever. And all that's led to is just what the world's become is one big business. That's all the internet is anyways. It's just a big fucking business, no matter what you're doing. YouTube videos aren't really even educational anymore. They're just somehow selling you something, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
They could be recommending a product, and what are they really doing? They're just making money off of a referral link, and they didn't really care for that product, and whatever. Here's what it really comes down to: the disconnect and how social media has an influence on the youth, and it's just, it's truly destroyed how it is. But why did I go into that evolution point? It's because, okay, we're on a bad point now. Do I see how this technology can be implemented in a really cool, good way? Because, like, in the last 200 years, so much has happened, but I see how, at least, not just the youth, but like the younger crowd is taking that. They're finally, I'm recognizing that a good amount of people are going, yeah, this shit sucks. There's something nasty going on here, like, we don't like it. And, you hear more people saying, like, they don't want to be silenced, they don't like, what's the word, censorship.
Yeah.
They don't like their personal information being tracked and sold and all that stuff, but I don't know, it's just super eerie to me that this device in my pocket, its capabilities are, and yeah, I can play it smart, and get me one of those, what's it called, a Ferrari bag or it's like aluminum foil, you stick it in there.
A Faraday bag.
Faraday, yeah. So it's you stick your phone in there and it blocks the reception. But then, how do you get a phone call? You don't, right?
Yeah, but the thing and the beauty of the Faraday is the factor that it can protect from different electromagnetic signals.
Yeah, and that's cool too, like EMPs and stuff.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, you gotta time that up and whatever. And okay, but then that kind of takes away from the one real reason you need this device anyways, and that's communication. And so, really, it just kind of sucks. And so all I'm saying is that nothing's private anymore because of technology, and there are means to get private and everything, but we're just not there yet. At least.
Let me ask you this, because this is so far kind of on the evil of technology.
Yeah, but at the same time, I hope that I'm laying out that I see how there's totally like good. Like, I mean, we've been able to save lives, more lives because of technology. I feel like there's been less wars because of technology, but at the same time, it's creating its own kind of war.
Let me ask this, because I'm kind of, part of it was that magic is just technology misunderstood. Well, what are your thoughts on things like telepathy?
Well, I'll just say that magic's a scary word because, I mean, let's just fucking come to the conclusion that all things good can become corrupt, and that's usually what happens. And usually when it's written in systematic, like a law, because what might meet the circumstance and the needs in that time may not work in another time, and we've recognized that, and that's why we're having such a fucking pile-up on the expressway here with our economy and the judicial system and everything, because this fucking systematic doesn't know how to adapt. You know, it doesn't know a time and a place. Well, I know that the order is too disciplined there, in that area. Like, magic, I love magic. Actually, one of my favorite sayings is that, like, there is magic in the world, and that's usually what I'm talking about.
How would you define it?
When I'm speaking on self-consciousness and stuff, and you feel those things that you can't articulate, I'll just call that magic.
Okay.
But when you associate magic with technology, I'm gonna take that a little more serious, and I'm looking at that as being like that bad magic, the kind that can like summon dark energies type shit, because like it's no fucking doubt that like I've always thought, even I was born in 1999, so I saw a computer in kindergarten. I was one of the first classes to ever start that online school stuff.
It's funny you say that, because in my last video I kind of talk about my origins, and technically I'm the first generation that fully adapted to the internet and grew up on the internet, but technically speaking, I'm not the first generation. Like the first generation would be the person that actually grew up as a baby with the internet.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that. I had it where I grew up with the internet somewhere around the age of 7 to 9.
Yeah. Well, I guess, like, I mean, there's that, and then I see how, like, there's the type now where there's babies on TikTok and they have their own Facebook account.
Yeah, we're in a completely different era.
That's crazy, but, like, at this point, we're talking, like, yeah, I was on Windows 98 probably, or XP even at that time, and, so what I'm getting at is, not only was I conditioned, but like into like becoming used to that, but from just the beginning, even then, I realized that the working components of a computer were very similar to the working components of us. I can't.
Well, it's funny you say that, because the reason I'm trying to start this Order of Sticks Nicks is over the idea that technology is going to evolve us into a different era. We're going into a thing of like transhumanism.
I feel like you kind of are like on that, you know, like I think there's high hopes in what AI's potential is, beyond its beyond its concrete capabilities.
Right. But what's interesting though is that with the advent of AI, we are exploring what does it mean to be human.
I don't know. I think you can just fucking simply do that in the woods with a bonfire before you need to do that with technology.
No, but this is how you create a brand new sentient being.
I don't know if you want to do that.
Why would you say that?
Well, because think about what you just fucking said.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna send you a few videos of how the planet works, and I think I just sent you one where the sun hits these 2 cycles, and then it's this certain thing, and then it's where the stars could line up and this stuff, and there's just, it's Easter and it's fucking Christmas. Okay? And what's so fucking fundamental about that? Well, Jesus was born on Christmas and resurrected on Easter. So when those timelines, it was that fucking, I was like, whoa. I found this out like a couple weeks ago. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, and I look at James and I'm like, I bet you that's where they're gonna fuck it, or where they have summoned the Antichrist,
Right.
or you know, fucking
But-
Jesus might not have been no Jesus. He
Hold
could have
on.
been the Antichrist. Maybe we're on the wrong Jesus.
You're gonna freak out. You're gonna freak out.
I know I am.
Hold on. Let me
fucking freaked out, man.
No. Okay, so remember, as I was talking about Atlantis,
Yeah.
the fall of Atlantis and the rise of Atlantis. The rise of Atlantis came in the age of Aquarius, and the fall of Atlantis came in the age of Pisces.
Well,
Hold on. We are in the age of Aquarius right now.
what? It's funny. Well, yes.
Hold on. Remember how we talked about before, there's a possibility that time keeps on repeating.
Well,
But even though it's the same story, the timelines kind of shift.
you really gotta like fucking look at astrology at its concrete. And I'm not saying you can't search up any astrology website, any Wikipedia, anything, and find this. You gotta find this by observation and connecting the dots with your subconscious research. And that's exactly how it happened for me. I wasn't trying, but I knew I was subconsciously looking for it. And here's what happened.
Yeah.
Finally fucking realized that, so you look it up, how the earth, just go on YouTube and you'll probably find the video in the first fucking top 5, and it's how the earth rotates around the sun. And it turns out that it's not just this like constant circle, and we're not talking that it just kind of like bows out a little bit. It goes in a specific amount of types of oval cycles that represent these ages that you're kind of referring to. And apparently there's more than one North Star. There's 3 of them. And so out of all these cycles, you're in one of these North Stars. And that's important to understand your direction. And the sun, if you were to do a time lapse through the whole year, it does this like 8 shape, where the small hoop and a big bottom hoop. And when it's at the bottom and when it's at the top are those 2 cycles that I'm talking about, where it was Christmas and Easter at one point.
I'm gonna just quickly expand on something real quick.
Okay.
You know how you said there's the 8 shape?
Yeah.
All right.
Infinity almost.
Yeah. I was actually gonna touch upon that. If you rotate the 8, it becomes infinity. What's really interesting is the way that current society has progressed. The starting point is probably 2012-ish. And if you add 8 to 2012, you get 2020. 2020 becomes a crucial year for things. And if you take that and let's say time is speeding up, so let's divide 8 by 2, then we get 4. And in 2024, we get something that's going to be very interesting in history. But aside from that particular thing, when I'm talking about the repetition of time, I think there's a possibility that time repeats.
It's possible, just kind of like the deja vu, or like why are we here, you know?
Right.
How we like awakened. It's almost like we've done this before. And it's like we've awakened here in this time. to do it again.
That's the point I want to make.
Yeah.
Is the factor that Atlantis was known as the advanced civilization of its time.
Yeah.
Today, we are the advanced civilization of the time. If Atlantis started in the age of Aquarius, and we are in the age of Aquarius right now, And then Atlantis fell in the age of Pisces. And then when we get to Pisces,
But
We-
here's what takes all the fun out of that. Well, it's not necessarily the fun. I mean, maybe things do line up to the second, or maybe there is super relevance to doing certain things. Because that's almost what I'm feeling like. It almost makes me feel like there's a certain time to do something. I don't know what that fucking thing is, and if it's special, or it's going to be super humbling to figure out that it's really nothing other than just a simple meditation in your temple. But, like, I would like to think that there's some relativity to the context of our conversations, these subjects, the stars, what we see, beyond just your basic religious core. Like, I mean, as much as I love to indulge and have some beliefs that coincide with it or whatever, or perceptions even, there's just so much more.
if we were to take a look at modern theology, though, modern theology is all based around the Sumerian mythos, as you will. The Sumerians, like, basically are the predecessors of all modern age religions. And if we take a look at that,
And that was a time of ruling, right?
sort of, yeah. It was like the first modern day society.
Yeah, like where there's a ruling, a governing of some sort.
Well, yes. In fact, the very first government actually comes from the Sumerians. The Sumerians were the first ones to have a government.
So we're come to the conclusion, Sumerians were one of the first governing societies where the, and maybe let's just indulge on this idea that maybe this is the first time where it's innocent that the people give in to this. Actually, they're not giving in, they're actually truly building in. The people of, let's say, power and control aren't corrupt. I mean, we're talking, they may have had, like, naive ill intentions, but they weren't purposeful on it necessarily. It wasn't until greed kicked in or something, or like an opposing thing like lust or self-doubt or something, that might have an effect. But let's just say it's contribution. We're talking about where we're making a community and self-sustaining and all this stuff, and this is where it's like, it's not each village is against each other, it's each village is with each other, and we're just going to call ourselves a union.
Yeah.
And that goes wrong because, maybe it wasn't the first guys, but somebody else wanted that power because they were corrupt in their heart or something, right?
What is your thoughts on the creation of corruption?
Well, we can go back to how about this? Was Genesis, right? Where it talks about Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say the roots of corruption would probably be like sexual, like lust.
But how, before that though, before understanding the lust,
And of course I say Adam and Eve, and I don't say that as like, that's a real thing, but like the metaphor is pretty cool.
yeah, but so if we were to kind of expand upon that, Adam and Eve, they were rejected from the Garden of Eden because they fell to the intoxication of knowledge. That's what the apple represented, was the tree of knowledge.
So what's up with that? Is that us right now? Is that us like becoming corrupt? It's almost what it feels like.
Yeah.
That's how this guy feels about my cooking.
Yeah.
Fucker.
Oh shit.
Called me and said, "You got any ideas for dinner?" That means he ate. When I told him chicken soup.
Oh.
It's not like I made chicken soup from a can.
Yeah.
I made it homemade.
Well, and that's
With
like the
love.
best. That's the best.
I also made my gluten-free one. It's pretty fucking good too.
Even on air sign for my birthday. How would that do?
On air.
On air.
Who are you talking to in the kitchen?
Kyle.
I'm non-existent. He's talking to his imagination.
This is true or not? This is very true.
He hot.
Yeah.
Anywho.
We were at that the corruption was knowledge, and that's always kind of gave me goosebumps because it's like it kind of humbles you for a second, and it's like it's always made me think that like maybe the people searching for the answer are stretching, you know, building Babylonian, even in their own heads, because
That's the beauty of it.
I've always heard from the old guys who have lived their journey. Like, there's a really cool song, and you have to listen to it. I'm gonna pull it up, but it basically says, he's saying, the old people look at the young guys and go, you're down for looking for an answer. And he immediately takes it as like, you know, why would you feel that way? And then the old guy says, kid, you don't know shit. Go back in that small hometown where you used to live that you left behind. And that hits me real hard because I'm from a small town that I left behind on this hopes of running away to go somewhere. At the same time, I know that there is like my people out there somewhere, or like a community that I'd fit in better than where I was at the time. I wanted to go travel, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there's just something really humbling about the idea that like, yeah, maybe there really isn't an answer in this thing that I talk about. At the same time, I think it's the difference between if you're looking for the answers within yourself or outside of yourself. And if you're looking outside of yourself, I think you're going to get lost. If you're looking within yourself, you're probably on track.
You are not incorrect. I think you are correct on
That is great.
My thoughts. So again, for some reason, I'm very attracted to Atlantis. The fall of Atlantis comes from the knowledge of magic. And the divide of the government was between whether or not they wanted to be a spiritual race or if they wanted to be a material race. Two different types of worlds and realities. And I think after that, for some reason, we started diving into what would be called dark magic.
Yes.
And in dark magic...
Black magic,
Black
right?
magic, yeah. And in that, we see those rituals of sacrificing
And there's good witches and bad witches. You know, that's why there's good angels and bad angels. There's good humans and bad humans. And at the same time, there's really no such thing as a human. The only humans are the fucking bot zombies that are put here to serve that purpose. And you know, they're like fillers. And I'm not discrediting anybody. And I feel like anybody has the potential to access, but at the same damn time, the masses are the masses, the sheep are the sheep, and there's a reason why you're in my top 10 list for even getting close to this context of conversation, because it's like, people are going to walk their road, and I'm not going to knock anybody for not looking for some answers, because maybe I'm doing the wrong thing here.
Well, that's why I always say, your truth versus my truth. It doesn't matter. That's your truth, and I can't take that away from you. It's not my place to do that. While the truth, which is a manifestation of your truth and my truth together.
Well, you say manifestation, and that's kind of right. So it can be it could be perception, because damn it, if we're gonna bring up the word manifestation, you better damn sure consider that a thought can be an action, because first you gotta decide, you gotta make a decision, and that's the thought. You got the thought, you make a decision, and then you act. and what are we here doing? We're expressing, no matter what it is that you think you're doing, you're expressing.
Yeah.
And if it's anything but, it's probably meeting a need. Okay, and that means you're doing what it takes to keep the parts moving. At this point, I feel like there's too many parts to keep moving, and we can come back, okay? But at the same time, what I'm getting at is, I'm gonna give it back to you, like you were talking about the magic, right? Where that kind of stemmed from, the dark magic.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Or just magic in general, because what did I lead off? I was like, there's good and bad, right? So, with magic, what is your interpretation of magic? That's important. What is magic?
As I've stated before, magic is technology misunderstood.
See, but...
Hold on.
No, that's something else.
Hold on. Does not necessarily mean technology as in computers or cybernetics or anything like that.
Right.
What technology means is the various techniques in which to manifest ideas into reality, aka alchemy.
Well, let's look at energy and the sun, for instance. I feel like not only are we producing too much energy here on Earth and making too much pollution in any means, no matter what that means, I feel like we are burning our fuel source faster. Like, and that can almost be perceived metaphorically. Like, imagine if, just because of the energies that we're using as humans, or the amount of humans that are on this earth compared to what there could be, like the lesser. Not saying that I'm into, a lesser population than what we have, but I'm just saying, I don't think it was no accident that we're at the population that we're at. Right
There
now.
is mathematics behind the perfect synergy between nature and man. And unfortunately...
Like, we're fucking impregnating cows, right? Like animals, livestock.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing's happening with humans, and I think we're out of that balance.
Well,
I'm not saying the solution would be to, like, start killing people or to limit the amount of children, but I will let you
cap it real quick.
Yeah.
The thing with the mathematics for the perfect synergy of Earth and man, unfortunately, is within that lower within that lower tier of the population count. And the sad part of this is that the people that we call the globalists, they understand that. And
Actually, it's
what they want to do, though, is they want to use that as population control for building their own new utopia.
Yeah. And if it's not the globalists, it's the think tanks or the cults. Or like the people like you and me who didn't even know what we were creating. We were just doing our job. Yeah. I'm about talked out on that topic and such for the days. On one note, this is something that we're passionate about, and so I think we should jump into it because this is something we're able to talk about, but we don't need order. And I love that.
We don't need a what?
Order. We don't need a script. We don't write a script.
Dude, this is the order of sticks next.
Stop.
No, you gotta understand this shit. This shit is amazing. Okay.
Kyle, you know, look. Hold on.
This is a cult.
Hold on.
We are starting a cult.
Okay, this is exactly what I wanted to refrain from. See, you drank the Kool-Aid. You took the red pill. You just had to.
Dude, but that's how you make money. You gotta build a deep enough rabbit hole.
Ask them if there's another option. Nobody asks them if there's another pill to take.
There's not another pill to take. It's just the red pill. Understand that.
Oh, alright, here's what I'm really saying.
Okay.
I can remember what I was really saying. In the context of this is listen. Through my entire life, it's always
You wanted to start Fight Club.
it's always somebody else's name. And that doesn't mean I want my own name. I think it needs a universal name.
Yeah.
Stick Mix is great, but it's attached to your persona.
Hold on. It's more than that, though. It's actually tied to Virus 23.
What is Virus 23?
Virus 23 is a mind virus. And once you hear about Virus 23, it infects you.
Is this the Jim Carrey movie 23?
Possibly. I don't know, I've never seen that movie.
That's crazy.
But there is a connection with the number 23. And the reality, there's other number symbolizations like 369, which is something that Tesla was very big into. But there's symbology within this. Virus 23 is essentially the curiosity of spreading basically memes into the ecosystem of society. And the idea is that you can't kill ideas. Once an idea exists, it always exists. And forever it will be infamous for existing.
And literally as I'm texting somebody right now, I'm telling them it's not about me, it's about the idea. In the exact context, like, you know, Vendetta would say, or like, just, it's humbling because, like, I don't know, like, the person is asking me, like, do I do this podcast thing a lot? And the first thing that comes to mind is, like, I'm a work in progress, like, with everything. Like, yeah, I've been wanting to, like, make podcasts and do this and do that, you know, and share my thoughts, but I don't really do it. And why? Because the time just hasn't been necessarily right. But like here I am at a time where it's feeling necessarily right because it's topics and things that we need to be talking about. You know, it's like, you know, business is great, and I'm gonna be doing it while becoming a conscious it's like I'm gonna break from that sooner than later. All of it. Man, I have some fucking really good thoughts on what we can do to adapt and conform and reform as a union and a junction and moving parts, being self-sustainable, you know, and using advanced primitive technologies.
Yeah.
And
Well, what would you define as primitive technologies?
oh, cool. Something that doesn't produce waste, damn it. And waste doesn't mean carbon from you know, a wood fire.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's okay. I mean, I think this is correct, but I think that there's more natural CO2 pollution than there is human CO2 pollution. But the argument or the supporting factor is that we're creating an enormous imbalance. And there's no doubt about it, and nobody can justify that wildlife is having a hard time and sea life because of us. You know, it's kind of getting really nasty.
Yeah.
It's thrown off the balance, you know. If others don't feel it, then I feel it, and I'm gonna do something about it. But you know, I'm always working real hard, and I'm working with the right people who are gonna try to do something about it. There's no political move that can be done. There's nobody you can elect that is gonna be able to do it all. And that's where it's like everybody is already in their field doing what they're doing, and if they just look at what they're doing, their field, they just contribute there as a starting point. That would, I mean, that's it, and it's a high hope. I'm saying if everybody would, you know, it's everybody, you know, that's great, but at the same time, I think the only reason it's hard to imagine a majority of people moving as a union is because we've fallen so far away from that. And I see how it's been possible because the good old boys, blue collar people, you know, they're the last of the breed, especially the Indians, you know, like,
Yeah.
they're definitely in tune with each other. You see Mexicans really, really there for each other, and just like growing up, like just Southern people, the old guys, just really fucking genuine, loving, in touch, helping hands, moving parts, money doesn't matter kind of thing. Now it's just kind of gross. And even before that, you know, when we're talking primitive, you know, I'd like to say that let everybody hold hands and know the thoughts of each other.
Yeah.
Like that's.
Say that one more time.
Let everybody hold hands and know the thoughts of each other.
How would you deconstruct that idea or that phrase?
There's not enough time spent around a bonfire. There's hardly been, I can't remember a handful of times where I've ate a dinner without watching TV. What growing up or like anywhere, you know, it's like nobody's really talking. You know, it's exactly what those globalists wanted. They didn't want us talking about this stuff at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
We've been just drowned in distractions, and I think that's where I'm at in my days. Is I've been able to see past the distraction, the bullshit. It's not just so much questioning everything. It's just there's only so many things that fit, and everything else just really doesn't.
Yeah.
And there's some things that you just really do rationalize with. At some point, go, that is how it is, but still open to change.
Yeah.
Right? Because if not, you could become corrupt. I think that's like the checks and balance system to not become corrupt is to always be truthful with yourself. Because if you, I mean, like, there's no point in living if you're not truthful with yourself. Like, fucking, that's the only way to growth. That's the only way to, like, not have anxiety and to not have depression.
Yeah.
Is to face all those doubts and all those feelings. And, like, there's a breakthrough when you come out of that, you know? It's kind of like the fucking song that you were listening to, you know, tripping or whatever, but it's not an unachievable stretch. You know, and I can see where technology can play its role in this, but the deal is my picture, like my vision, doesn't include technology being where it's at. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be. There's times because I haven't really considered it, but at the same time it's like, how is there a discipline? Like, can't we just have it where we have flip phones and then you have a home computer, damn it, or a hotspot, and a computer and just a flip phone? You know, do you really have to have a computer on your hip 24/7? I mean, it's just a distraction. I mean, you sleep 1/3 of your life, and then you work 5/8 of the rest of that day, and you have 3/8 to recover from that day. And to me, even working $13 an hour cash, 50 hours a week, I feel like I only make enough money to pay the rent, you know, get the gas in the car, pay the bills, just so that I can come home from work, sleep, eat shit, and go back to work. So I'm paying into all these things just so I can go back to work. Because if I didn't have money, I wouldn't have gas and the insurance and the place to sleep to get to work.
Yeah.
And so it's just a destructive fucking cycle. And it's a no-brainer to be out of that cycle. Because even if my work has purpose, it's not necessarily purposeful. It's synthetic. It's not needed. It's over-manufactured, as most work is. Arbitrary.
Yeah.
Because it's meeting a need, but it's using a whole lot of fucking unneeded energy.
Yeah. Can you hold that thought?
Yeah. Well, I feel like I'm gonna have to wrap this conversation up within the next 10 minutes. So I don't know how.
No problem.
What do you feel about what we've talked so far? Like, I mean, here's where I'm at with it. I feel like, you know what? I feel like when I express a thought more than once, it's hard. So I'll just go and recall. So like, you know, we've really been trying to make this fit in. Like, our expressions, our thoughts and stuff, we've been trying to find a place to fit it in. And I know you've been on YouTube and you've done some stuff in the past, but like, I guess me, I'm only, you know, I'm a little younger and I haven't done so much. I only have my personal account or whatever, but either way, we've had this business that we've been, you know, productive place that we've been putting a lot of energy into and trying to do stuff, but at the same time, we always keep falling back into a lot of this content and stuff, and so I'm at the point where it's like, you know, we got some dots connecting,
Yeah.
and we've finally got some proper like marketing angles, and today, and also like other days that we talk about stuff like this and such, you know, it just feels more purposeful. Like, you know, like, it doesn't feel like work, it feels meaningful, just keeping it real, having fun. It's not work, it's play.
That's the goal.
And that's the goal, and it's right there. I feel it here on not just this subject, but subjects alike. And not to say that the stuff that we talk about in productive place, but I feel like it's that same fake garbage that you're gonna find on YouTube, where truthfully we are selling you shit. And you know, we could be transparent about that, like Gary Vee is. You know, like hey, I'm selling you shit, but at the end of the day, here's what it is, and only some are gonna listen, and that's okay. And because it's dog eat dog business out there, but it's now the next part is, but as always, I get involved in these things, the business stuff and the money games. You know, I'm a 3 years financial professional. I've studied in a lot of things. I'm a man of many skills. I've worked in many trades. I've done a lot for my age. I've been surrounded by great, experienced, knowledgeable people. But at the end of the day, I realized that the expressions, the art, the work, the content, productions that I create is always contradictory to my true intention. And because I know there's a better way. A much better way. And not without considering all the variables in which why we're probably doing it this way in the first place.
What, how would you say is the better way?
Well, I think I can't even really put that into words, okay? But I will say I've mentioned a lot of things, and there will be plenty of things to mention in the future.
Yeah.
If I could put it in a very small summary, the best way is for people to govern themselves and to be accountable of their own actions, to be decisive, to get to know themselves, face their feelings, use their feelings. They're telling you something. They're there for a reason. I think people meeting their own needs, not only as themselves, as an individual, but as a family, and as friends, and as a community, and as a state, and as a union, as a world, in a realistic way. A way that has been done before, the natural way. The way that has been purposely designed in the opposite direction for the past 200 years.
Yeah.
And it's the Great Reset 2.0, because as you know, we have this new Great Reset that's coming here in 2021, but we have to counter that Great Reset as 2.0 Great Reset. That's the real Great Reset. That's good.
Well, the real Great Reset is the Great Awakening.
Yeah, but that's some Q shit, and we can't talk about QAnon.
I mean, it's more than that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're gonna cap this.
Absolutely.
So, thank you for listening.